Aloha everyone, Ronnie Landis here. Welcome to another edition of the official Ronnie Landis podcast show. And I am your host, Ronnie Landis. And I am so excited about today's episode. Before we jump into that, I just want to let all of you know that I am also the founder of the Holistic Health Mastery Program. This is a holistic nutrition certification course that I began working on about 2 years ago on the Big Island of Hawaii and then into Sedona, and also finished up all of our bonus content here in Kauai. And what an amazing program this has evolved into. I could really talk a lot about my passion for this project and how it's evolved over the last 2 years, how we started with a 70 video curriculum, which makes up the certification course. And I've actually evolved it over the last 6 months or even the last 12 months into a 125 video course, 70 videos for the core curriculum, and then 55 bonus videos that are just amazing. I mean, really going into territory that I've never seen really explored to the depth that we go into on any other online program that's available out there. And I've done a lot of the online programs, so I definitely had a great foundation for how to create an innovative, a progressive, and a highly comprehensible course that really takes the student from the very beginning of raw food nutrition and superfood nutrition, plant-based nutrition, going into areas like tonic herbalism, going into a lot of detail on different aspects of detoxification, cleansing, hormone balance, hormone-based protocols, brain health, neurological health. We even have a lot of videos on pregnancy health, preconception nutrition, cleansing, how to supply the right kind of fuel for a developing child, so much more. I mean, it's unbelievable what this course has evolved into. And really what inspires me every day is all the feedback that I continue to get from all the students that are enrolled in the course, how much they say that it's not only changed their health, how it's changed their perspective on the subtleties of nutrition, things that they thought they knew, but upon really getting into the course, they found so much more perspective around how to help their coaching clients, how to become more effective with their clients and with their family members or anyone that they're trying to help achieve results in their health and also their lifestyle and their life in general. But also just the transformations that have occurred within each person that's taken the course in their overall life transformation. I mean, it's profound, it's humbling, and it's really empowering for continuing to upgrade the course each and every way. There's so much I could say about this, but I will just say that you can find more information about it at holistichealthmastery.com. And when you go to the website, you can sign up for the quick email list, and that will get you the first 3 video lessons absolutely free. So you can get a little taste, a savory taste of what this course can offer you in your life. So go to that website, holistichealthmastery.com. So let's jump into today's episode. I brought on a very dear friend of mine, a colleague, somebody that I have looked up to in the health world for quite some time. His name is Kristopher, and what a remarkable human being this is. I mean, there's so much I could say about him, but the real focus of this interview was on his journey as a raw foodist, how he got into the idea of vegetarianism and veganism, coming from a background that he wasn't really exposed to that at all, but he had some aha moments upon entry into the health world, and it transformed his life. He's one of those guys that I look up to because he lives it. He lives it full on, and he's not dogmatic about it at all. He's one of the most, composed and heart-centered individuals I've ever come across, but he's just really just a powerhouse, not just a powerhouse of knowledge, but a powerhouse of experience. And he leads 21-day and 40-day water fasts, which is incredibly inspiring for me. I'm actually looking forward to doing a 21-day water fast with him at some point, maybe when he comes to Kauai or at another junction that we get to meet up and do this together. But this interview was absolutely amazing. It was inspiring. We really dive into what fasting is, the art of fasting, the science of fasting, what everybody needs to know, whether they're going to do a water fast or they're just going to do a simple juice cleanse, a juice fast, and really just really great information to understand and to understand the benefits of intermittent fasting and fasting maybe once a week as a regular thing that you do in your day, maybe on Sunday, taking a break from consuming caloric food and just doing liquids, doing juices, even doing a water fast once in a while, one day every once in a while, to test your limits and to see how it affects your health and affects your digestion, it affects your mental clarity, all those things. Just a profound interview, one that I personally will be listening to over and over and over, and I know that you probably will be doing the very same thing. So without further ado, I want to introduce to you my friend, Kristopher ARLIN. Enjoy. Kristopher ARLIN is a trainer, speaker, and consultant who leads annual 21 and 40-day water fasts. He lives and promotes a high raw vegan lifestyle. He has personally been a part of the 50-mile ultra-marathon and 100-mile ultra-marathon. He has completed 7 Chicago marathons. He's been conducting his own raw food events since June 2009 and has done many green juice and raw food gatherings. He also played basketball at Syracuse University from 93 to 96. After 10 years in the financial world, he has been full-time in the world of raw food, fasting, speaking, juicing, running, and basically maximizing his God-given human potential. It is such an honor to have you on the show.
It's an honor to be here, Ronnie. How are you?
I am so fantastic. I just feel this incredible upliftment of energy, dare I say, the presence of the divine, if you will. I don't know how many people listening. I mean, if you've been listening to me for a while and like the language transformation I've gone through, then you probably understand what that means. All I mean by that is that there's an energy that is residing within me that I'm aware of and that I finally just said yes to.
Yes.
And it's flooding my being, and being on the call with someone like you who completely understands that and lives that, it's such an honor, and I'm just looking forward to the trajectory that we're about to embark on.
Wow. Well, first of all, I appreciate that introduction, and I appreciate being here too, man. It's been too long. 2 years, Ronnie. 2 years.
Yeah, that's right. And before we were talking, I have to say you have an impeccable memory. You pinpointed the exact month that we last talked, and also where I was at in my life, which I was like, oh, dang, that's right. Like, life's been moving pretty full on, but you had that marked, you had that bookmarked. I was like, okay.
I did. Absolutely, man.
Yeah. So, the way I start these conversations is typically that I want to take a quick journey into the impetus for why somebody would start any form of transformation. That's what I always refer to, by the way, is that it's not so simple as or it's not so superficial, I should say, is that, oh, we're changing our diet, we're losing weight, we have all these exterior goals, which are totally valid, but for me, I want to know what was the spiritual, maybe the mental, emotional, and just the life impetus that somebody was brought forth into whatever path that they decide to dedicate their life to. I think that's really what I want to communicate to people and have people understand on a deeper level. So, yeah, what got you into all this?
That's a good question. And this is the honest to God truth. I was 23 years old. It was the month, it was May of 1998. A guy, a financial guy, came over to meet my mom. And I was actually doing an Amway meeting in my living room. And he said, "Come, I want to take you for a ride. Come with me." And then we got in the car, and as we were driving, this dude popped in a tape by Brian Tracy, whom I had never heard of at that time, called The Psychology of Success. Within 2 minutes, Ronnie, of listening to this tape, something in me exploded, and I said, "This is just too good." I was like, "That's what I want to do. I want to be that." And then about 2 weeks after that, I quit my job that I was working. I was working in a factory at that time. I was at Motorola, and then I started working in a factory. And I didn't like it. I was a young guy, but I knew there was something more for my life. And so at that moment, while driving with, at the time, my mentor, I made a decision that I was going to become an entrepreneur, and I was going to really go into the world of personal growth. And 2 weeks later, I left the job, and I never looked back. I've either been self-employed or in business on my own since that time. And that was my launch into the world of personal growth. To go a little deeper, about 3 years later, I started working with Anthony Robbins and Associates and started doing seminars.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, motivational state. We were doing the board breaking, the firewall, and all that stuff. So that was amazing, and it was great because to me, Tony is the best in the business.
For sure.
You know, as far as changing a person's state and getting them to that next level. And then 3 years after that is where I think another real life change happened. I went on September 1st of 2005, and I got a colonic for the first time. True story. And the lady who gave me the colonic, I was a runner that ran marathon. She said, "Chris, she had to talk me into doing it because I didn't really want to do it." So she took about 2 hours to talk me into doing it. She said, if you do it, it'll improve your running. So she sold me. Plus, she was a beautiful woman. Choose to run it is true. So I did the colonic, and then after I did that colonic on September 1st, 2005, it was almost like scales fell from my eyes, and like my former life never existed before then. I was big into religion at that time and everything, and nothing against religion, but at the time it was real big. Well, I didn't want it anymore. And so she said, "Listen, I'm a raw foodist." And then she handed me a book, Ronnie, with 3 naked guys on the cover of the book.
I know what you're talking about.
I swear to God, man. And I read this book. It was Nature's First Law, the Raw Food Diet, with Thor, Stephen Arlin, David Wolfe, and R.C. DINI on the cover. I took about 2 days to read this book from cover to cover, and it impacted me because I didn't know about the whole raw food. I was a total cooked foodist. I was a standard American diet guy. I wasn't giving up my burgers or anything. But when I read that book, that inspired me to go into this thing. And so that was my impetus, a colonic. And then I started dating the lady who gave me the colonic. We started a serious relationship for 13 months. And that was my transformation, if you will, at least on this path.
Man, that brings up so much great stuff for me. It's funny when I have these conversations because it's a consensus in our world that we're quote unquote alone in the universe. We're isolated, and our experiences are our own, right? They're isolated to our own life journey. And when I have these conversations, especially what I'm getting right now, is how the commonalities. Obviously, we were both raised with athletics. Both we love basketball and to the nth degree, but more so on the personal development path because it's very similar for me. But when you bring up the fact that you actually worked with Tony Robbins, that just gives me goosebumps because I to this day, I gotta tell you, to this day, as a speaker, I study speakers, right? And people that really inspire something in my spirit. And Tony Robbins today is still, when I like to look at people from where they were and where they are, you know, like 30, 40 years later, and what keeps people at the top of their game. And, you know, when I see Tony Robbins do interviews now, I just realize, like, wow, like, you know, this dude is, and it's not about putting him on a pedestal. It's about the acknowledgement of the tenets of humility, of courage, perseverance, like we were talking before, being bold as a lion with what you believe and being independent of the perceived opinions of other people, how they're going to take it. It's something deep inside of us that carries us. You know, Michael Beckwith says that we are pushed by pain until we're pulled by a vision.
Yes.
And that's the thing that comes up for me, and I really appreciate that. You mentioned Brian Tracy, and you know, that's another one. I grew up in that world, that personal development world, because I was inspired. I was an athlete, but I wasn't introduced into that level of psychological empowerment. And I just feel like, you know, it's such a important thing that we get our mental faculties in check, especially as we're going to talk about fasting and raw food. You know, we'll get into that, but this is something that I've been wanting to, like, in my work and my messages, I get clearer about what that really is, and not adopting somebody else's message, but really feeling like, what is my true message and my role in this whole kind of information overload world that we live in. And it's really about bridging different worlds, bridging the metaphysical and spiritual world with the real nutritional technology that we have, and getting our mind in check so we have an attitude that determines our aptitude in life. So we're not, even when you're cleansing or fasting, that brings up all the emotional off-gassing and all the traumas and the psychological programs. And if somebody doesn't have their mind finely tuned in a direction that they truly want, and they're not empowered, then all kinds of chaos can go on with someone, and it really hinders their ability to continue to move through that detoxification phase.
Yes, absolutely. And I love the fact that you mentioned merging the different worlds, because that's a big piece of the puzzle for me as well, Ronnie. I believe one of my main purposes, is to merge the worlds of the spiritual world with regard to all the spiritual writings from the Bible, the Essene Gospel of Peace, the Magnus Opus, the Dead Sea Scrolls, the Upanishads. I'm a big lover of the Bible, but I know a lot of people, maybe like in the raw or the vegan world, really aren't, simply because the people who profess to be, they don't necessarily live the message, or they misinterpret, you know, a lot of this stuff.
Right.
And I believe a big part, what I'm here, is to bring both, you know, to an example, to bring those worlds together, the personal development world, because a lot in the personal development world, they don't know about raw food. They don't know about fasting or juicing or anything, you know, but they have a lot. But then there are a lot of people, either in the raw or the vegan, they don't know about goal setting or things that you have to do in the personal development world, or the keys, how to decode the Bible, you know, which is people just don't know how to decode it, so they just dismiss it. They think, that's just fluff. It ain't fluff, you know, because I get all my stuff comes from there, you know. But it's going to take, I call it spiritual hybrids, people who can relate to all and get the truths out of all the different worlds.
Dude,
you know, so that we can relate to the world. I'm so glad that you have an athletic background, you know, with regard to sports, and understand, you know, because that's a different world, and being able to relate to people, because that's what I think a critical piece of that rite of passage that you talk about. It is being able to relate to the whole, because we're one. And we're going to need relators. That's what a light worker is, in my opinion. It's someone who can wholly relate to all. So because you can't just be all on one side, because there's another side. Because one side don't have all the answers. It's coming from a whole bunch, you know.
You know what I love about this perspective, and what I get from you, and why you're on my show? Because I'll be honest with you and everyone listening, there are a lot of very well-known health people out there that, might have good messages and we could have a good conversation, but there's something that inhibits my desire to bring certain people on. I don't really care so much about like viewership, obviously, marketing, whatever, like that's a part of it, but really I can only bring somebody on if they have an illumination about them. They have a perspective that encompasses a wide circumference of I guess I'll just say perspective in terms that we're not this when a lot of people, when they hear the term raw food or veganism, there's all kinds of connotations, and I found most of those connotations, once you peel back the layers, are actually and a lot of times trigger points when you bring these things up for people. It relates to dogma or fanaticism that is very prevalent in those worlds, and I think that's because of the misinterpretation or focusing on one thing and then making that your God, and not actually living whole, and not being able to see the whole of people. Like, people are more than their diet, right? Obviously,
Yeah,
that's a
absolutely.
fuel source. That's a fuel source, but that doesn't make somebody's identity. You can't define somebody by one thing. And so I really appreciate you mentioning that. And I would actually like to just kind of drop in on this really quickly, this idea of fanaticism or fundamentalism, because you live the lifestyle full on, and yet you don't have a dogmatic element to the way you communicate.
Ron, thank you. First of all, thank you for that. But I must sheepishly admit, I would say maybe 7 years ago,
Yeah.
like in 2009, when I really got into the internet, I think I may have came off a bit dogmatic. And there was like a little window where I was like, well, if you're not eating raw, you're this or that or whatever.
Right.
So I had to upgrade my thinking. I had to change and I had to think. I used common sense. Like, listen, my mom never ate. Listen, my dear mother, who I love with my heart and soul, who's one of the greatest people, and I'm not being. She's just an amazing woman. She was the biggest cook foodist on the earth. So am I gonna? I can't demonize her, because nobody in my family is even a vegetarian. Talk about raw food. Nobody in my family, or even Jeannie, I don't think was even raw vegetarian. So forget about vegan or raw. So I had to say no, Chris. I think God just gave you this opportunity to be the change, to be the forerunner, to be the example without judging anybody, and just saying, hey, listen, this is something that was presented to me as a gift, to use this information and to use the gift and to bless other people without judging them per se, because going raw don't give you all the answers. But at one time, I thought I did. Or it's like, yeah, I found the Holy Grail, and if you don't got it, sorry. So, we're all evolving. And I notice even in the raw world, people with the raw foodists, what I've noticed is that a lot of them are trying to dissociate. They don't want to be identified as the raw person. You could look at Goji Girl, who used to be known as. She don't want to. It's just whatever. What's her real name? She wants to be identified by her real name. Chocolate Face. It's Sandy.
Sandy, yeah.
Even fully raw Christina don't. She doesn't go by that moniker anymore. It's just she goes by her full name, Christina Carrillo Bucaran. If you look, but years ago it always came up fully raw Christina, but now it's fully raw by Christina. And so I see a lot of evolution in all the worlds.
Yeah, it comes up for me immediately, and I love this perspective. I was listening to, by now everyone knows I'm a huge follower of Michael Beckwith in terms of following his work.
Yes,
and he was telling the story of how he really got activated in the different stages he had to go through in order to finally say yes to what he calls the presence and give his life over to it. And he said that at one point he went by this other name. I can't remember it. It's very he had a different name that he went by, and then he came to this place where he realized I'm living kind of like two different lives because Michael isn't growing. right? This other identity is the one taking the lead. And he said he dispelled, or he took that name out and brought Michael Beckwith up, and he said Michael needs to grow into this. And I really took that deeply. I realized, like, wow, how interesting how we oftentimes will compartmentalize our personality, and we will show up with a mask. And then maybe that mask is very inspiring, but it's not really the whole picture. Until we bring our actual selves, who we are, we bring all the puzzle pieces together, we can't really truly embody our full potential.
Yeah, that's true. That is so true. That's a great analogy, and I'm a fan of Michael Beckwith as well. So man, that's awesome. That is awesome. Cool. And I got, Ronnie, I don't know, I got to give a shout out, to my a partner of mine who I used to work with. We did raw food events back in 2009. We haven't spoken in years, but I have to give her a shout because she really helped me a lot on this journey. Teresa Jordan.
Yes.
I gotta give her a shout out. Listen, one of the best. This is why I have to give a shout out to T. We did a lot of raw food events together back in 09 and 2000. Well, in 09. We didn't do any events together in 2000, but we hung out. And I learned so much from her. We used to forage. We went foraging for dandelion and sage and all types of stuff. But I saw a woman who lived this lifestyle full on, who was compassionate, she's probably the most generous person that I've ever known, without question. And just beautiful inside and out. And I haven't spoken to her in years. But I have to give her a shout out because she was a big part of adding to my journey, not only as in the raw world, but as a man. She was just a great one. Just nothing but, I just remembered. I got to give her a shout because I've done a lot of interviews where I didn't give her a shout out, and I always regret it. I was like, I got to give T a shout out because she helped me a lot. So yeah,
absolutely. I love Teresa. She's such an amazing person, and her husband, and getting to hang out with them at like All Locks. And I'm definitely, thank you for bringing that up because it puts that bookmark in my mind. I definitely had thought about bringing her on as well, so I need to connect with her because everything that you just said, that really solidifies really what I was trying to convey earlier about the people that I bring on. Is that people that I'm not looking for perfectionism. I'm looking for an embodiment of what people's actual message, and
She again, and Lonnie Jordan too. Lonnie, amazing man. So shout out to you too, Lonnie. But above all, shout out to T because I learned so much from you and doing those events with you. And tasting your food, which to me, Ronnie, I've been around this thing for a minute. I haven't tasted raw food. I've been to a lot of restaurants, and I love All Rock. Love Planet Rock, Karen's, the whole truth. But T's cuisine was the best to me. So that was something else. Yes, I got to give Teresa Jordan her props. Because I don't have an interview where I've actually gave her props until now. So you're the first, bro. I've never verbally, said, T, thank you. So thank you. And thank you, Ronnie, for the allowing me the platform to do so.
It's my pleasure. I think it's actually the perfect place to do it. She's definitely going to listen to this, so.
Yes.
Okay, so I want to jump in with you here. Let's talk about fasting and this idea around fasting, because again, it's one of those things that has a lot of cultural connotation. I've talked to different people from different spheres. That's what I do. I jump in all the different circles here, and I'm definitely really deep into the Chinese medicine circles, and I've talked to a lot of people that have differing opinions on this idea of fasting. And without going into all the details, one thing I've kind of learned is that people that don't have a great experience with either raw food or fasting, these concepts, they oftentimes will foo-foo it. They will say, oh, well, fasting, it's a good concept, but you got to be careful because you're going to catabolize yourself and yada yada yada. Which there's a method to all this. There's a strategy to all this. You don't just throw everything out and do just fruit, right? Like there's actually a sophistication to this whole conversation and these ideas. So that's what I want to jump in with you right now. Like,
Sure.
How did you get into fasting? And let's unpack that.
Good question. I got into fasting. Very few people would realize this from back in 2001 from reading the Bible. If a person would take the time and read it, fasting is huge in the Bible. I mean, when in the Bible where it says wait on the Lord or mourning or whenever they wanted anything from God in the Bible, they had to fast. So guess what? In early 2002, I needed to create a couple $1,000s to go on this trip. And I read in the Bible where Esther, she had to do a 3-day dry fast to get favor from the king. So that's 3 days on nothing but air, okay, to get favor. Well, I said, man, she did it. Let me try it. So, Ronnie, as I'm sitting here talking to you, man, in February 2002, I needed a couple thousand because I needed favor. So I did 3. Now, I was on the standard American diet at that time, right? So I was, but still, that didn't matter. I did 3 days on nothing but air, no water. Right. And then I even broke the fast with rice and salmon. Talk about the worst way to break a fast. Right. But guess what? I got the $2,000 that I needed. This is what happened. A couple days after the fast, I went to my older sister. Right. And she's a model, professional model. But for asking my sister for money is like trying to get sunshine from an Eskimo. It ain't going to happen. Just saying. Well, guess what? To my amazement, she said, brother, you've been working real hard. Here, take the $2,000. And she blessed me, with no strings attached or anything. It happened just like that. And I attribute it to the fast that I did. So I got the money that allowed me to go on this trip. So that's what got me into fasting.
So what kept you into fasting?
This is what kept me. About 3 years after that, the woman who got me into raw food, she handed me a book. The second book she gave me, besides The Nature's First Law, was called The SEANEY Gospel.
I knew it.
Man, Ronnie, peep this. It took me it was a $1 book. It took me maybe 30 minutes to read it. But when I started, it was like my spirit was confirming everything. I was like, this is the Jesus. I believed it. It was just real to me. And then if you read the book, the first thing he said before he got into the raw food, before he got into all that other stuff, and it's funny because if you read this in Gospel, he mentions Beelzebub and Satan, but people, they just dismiss that. They said, well, we don't believe it, but we'll believe everything else. They just say, well, that's what it's in there, but they don't never acknowledge it. But one of the first things he gave his disciples or the people that wanted to be healed is renew yourselves and fast. That was step one. Because until you fast, you're never going to overcome that which is within you, that evil or whatever, that darkness within it in you. And that's really what got me. That was in 2005. And then I decided to do a 7-day water fast. And then she talked me into doing a 21-day juice fast. But I didn't finish it. I didn't finish it at that time. I just didn't have the mental resolve. But that's what kept me into doing it. It was this lifestyle. And so the Essene Gospel of Peace, the lifestyle, and the Bible is really what kept me. And I've read a lot of esoteric books that you can't get. They're not sold at Barnes & Noble, like Anna, Grandmother of Jesus, the Magnus Opus, some of the greatest works, David Wolfe's works, John McCabe's work. And fasting is the bottom line. It gets to the bottom of things. It represents, it's the good news. It's the cross. It's the gospel. Air, fire, earth, and water is what leads to life. And fasting, it's a pleasurable thing once you can get over those mental hurdles and get over the emotional hurdles, which most people have a problem with. Because when we get bored, what do? We eat. When we're stressed, we eat. When we're lonely, we eat. And fasting gets to the bottom of things, and it helps you to overcome your emotions.
Wow, it's such a deep subject because we're not just talking about fasting from food. We're talking about abstaining from the things that are holding us back in our life. And that's a very easy concept to understand, much harder to live. I've found for me, why this comes up even more for me right now is after the last 7 years or so being a raw food and superfood enthusiast, I've kind of seen the pattern now. Like when you get into it, a lot of times your body is craving alkaline minerals and it's craving nutrients that you've pretty much exhausted or very realistically never really had. So you eat all these salads and you're doing tons of juice and you're doing superfood smoothies with 100 different ingredients and you do all that, right?
Yes.
And then if you keep walking the path, at some point, if you're listening to your body, which it took me a long time to really do, you meet some kind of threshold, right? Like all the receptors are filled up. And then you start to notice this dynamic of like, oh, I'm not really hungry. Like, okay, I'm going to eat a bunch of salads because it seems like a good idea. But at some point you realize like you're looking at the salad that you made and you're like, it's beautiful. It would probably taste good, but I don't have any need for it. And then from there, that for me anyways, that was what started me to go in the other direction. I had to load up on things, but then I was led towards abstinence of food, and that's what I'm really living now is as a pathway towards metabolic mastery. But beyond that, I'll just say really quickly, kind of like I practice cyclic fasting, so eating one solid meal a day. My friend Dan McDonald, he says that the master eats once a day. And I really took that on. I was like, wow, that sounds like truth, because when we talk about mastery, we're talking about mastering ourselves, our mental impulses, our emotional tendencies. And you really can't do that if you're suppressing it through putting things in. You actually have to release that aspect, and then from there, if you're genuine in your desire to evolve, then you start to actually, all that stuff that's been suppressed starts to come out on the table, and you can see it like, wow, like I guess I am a little like agitated. Maybe I'm not showing up in my relationships completely authentically. Maybe my pursuits in my life are not genuine, and that needs to be worked out. So that's kind of been my experience with this.
Yeah, and wow, that's real talk, Ronnie. I like how you put that, because that's exactly what it is. And go back to what you said earlier, it's a rite of passage. It's something that we're called to do, so that we can do what we came here to do. It brings us right to our purpose or our pure position. So that we can do what we came to do. My biggest hurdle to overcome was because I would always, you said something that was great. You said so that we can start showing up in our relationships fully, And for me, the diet thing, eating, has been my biggest obstacle. As much as I preach about it and fasting and doing all the fasting, I love how you said, making smoothies with 100 ingredients in them. We're putting spirulina, cacao, maca, all the superfoods, the mushrooms, throw out the shaga, And so I totally know that, but it's this fasting thing this is where the rubber really meets the road. It prepares you when you do start eating. You'll be ready for the raw. And in all of my time of doing these water fasts, I found that it takes 264 hours, which is equivalent to 11 full days, to cross over from acid to alkaline. If you want your taste buds or your tongue to upgrade, to be ready, it's going to take 264 hours, 11 days on water to go over. It won't keep you over. 40 days keeps you over, but 11 days will get you over. And it'll go from acid to alkaline, and it's just been amazing. I've had a chance to the last couple of years to lead 2 21-day water fasts on nothing but water. And for this last fast, we did the 3-day dry fast. The first 3 days, And it's been amazing. It really has.
I'm curious, what do you see as a facilitator? What do you see people's experiences, maybe the ups and downs that people inevitably will go through, doing a water fast like that?
Okay, it's sort of twofold because as we continue to grow and expand, my hope is to have a retreat or a place, maybe like in a Hawaii, in a Kauai or Maui, or some place where people can come and do it. Because our last couple of fasts, people have had, there are people, most people would still have to work a regular job to do it, which is not ideal at all.
Right.
Okay, because when you fast, you really want to shut it down and come apart. But a lot of people sign up because they know the rewards that come from fasting and there's just so many rewards, and they were sort of at a desperateness. They had to fast, or otherwise they would have lost some things. So ideally, you want to be in a place where you don't have the stresses of life, where you can get away from work. You can maybe get away from if you have kids, you can maybe sort of get away from your kids for a little bit and come apart, for a while. The key is to be able to move, to walk in sunshine, get as much sunshine as possible, just to go outside and breathe good air and to drink good quality water. Our official water for our fasting group, Ronnie, we had an official water. Obviously, most people ain't going to go on findspring.com and go find some spring water. So our official water was Mountain Valley spring water.
Nice.
Because it comes in glass. It has a 7.8 pH, an 8.2 coming out the ground, but it settles at 7.8 once it hits the oxygen. So we chose Mountain Valley. It's pricey, but we wanted the best. And, it was something else. And we did 21 days because 21 represents breakthrough. The number 7 represents completion. And the number 3 establishes the thing. You remember the movie Beetlejuice? What did the girl have to say? Beetlejuice, 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 right? Well, that's how it is with fasting. You have to do 3 cycles of 7, and that gets you the breakthrough of whatever breakthrough you're looking for, be it financial, emotional, spiritual, physical. As we both know, there's only 3 ways to heal the human body, and we call it fast, faster, and fastest. Yes, a fast way to heal is what? Just to eat the food, eat fully raw. And if you eat fully raw plant food, you will heal. A faster way to heal is to drink the blood of Jesus or the blood of juices. If you just drink raw, fresh, living juices exclusively, eventually you will heal. And then the fastest path, Ronnie, to healing is to go on water, is to walk on water until you're healed. That's what wild animals do. When a deer breaks her leg, what does she do? She go find a stream and just drink water until she's 100% healed. Drinking water, going on a water fast, is the fastest path to healing the human body.
Kristopher, I have to jump in. That is so spot on. And you mentioned the examples of animals. I often say sometimes in lectures, what does an animal do when it gets injured? It does 3 things. It finds solitude, quiet. It goes in a dark place and rests. It pretty much shuts down and sleeps. And like you just said, it will abstain from food.
Yes.
Right. So yes, food is medicine. But there's also little nuances that you're bringing up about the totality of the healing process. And I just want to. This is such an important point for people to get. And you mentioned it, is that the idea of fasting. The idea of it is a holistic life abstinence, right? So for 21 days, the idea is that you're doing water per se, but you're also shutting your phone off. You're shutting off the distractibility and the impulses that are nudging you from the world. You actually, because so much of our problems and our stress response is predicated on the influences of the world around us.
Yes. Yes, sir. That's the truth. I mean, that's one of the purposes of fasting, coming apart and shutting it down. Just for, heck, listen, there's 364, technically 364 days in a year, not 365. I know that this year is a 366 leap year, but what's 21 days of just shutting everything down? Or what's 40 days? So you can sharpen your saw and then give the world the other 325 days or 345 days, but come on, it's only 21 days or 40 or even 10 days. Even a person has to start at 10 days or 14 days. It's not as difficult as a lot of us would believe. And for me, I think it's the secret key to abundance and success, because it creates a vacuum in your body, and the universe hates vacuums. And what does the universe do when God sees a vacuum? He fills it with good things. He does. And so yeah,
No, it's so great. I often say, I said in my last lecture, I really drilled this in. I was like, before we get into hormones, before we get into like supplements, like we're going to go there. Don't worry. But really, before we go into that, we need to actually understand the principles of hydration.
Yes.
Because that's what your cells are, water bags. That's the information transportation medium, and that's what builds your blood. Look, it's water. So the idea is that water is a powerful solvent, and whatever problem you have in your life, water will dissolve the problem into a solution.
Ooh, I like that. Yes, I like that. That's awesome.
Yeah. And so that, I think with that said, I think it's leading me into this question. We definitely doing a periodic fasting or an exclusion fasting is very important, but how do we apply this principle to our daily life? Obviously, there's all kinds of philosophies around intermittent fasting, which I think is a great upgrade to just how we live our life. But you know what I often see in these intermittent fasting circles is these different ways to still keep pretty much doing the same thing. You're just doing it at a different time period in your day, which has its benefit for sure, but it's like, well, hold on. And if we're going to create something new in our life, we have to be willing to start stepping out of what doesn't work. So if you're between 12 and 6 in your day, if you're still eating the same stuff, then yeah, you will derive hormonal benefits. You might lose weight, and I'm totally for that as a stepping stone. But oftentimes people will preach that idea and just rest on it and just say like, yeah, you can still pretty much do whatever you did before. You just do it in this small amount of time.
Yeah. Ronnie, I think, and that's fine. And if you go online, there's so many intermittent fasting groups that are popping up, and they're great. But I want people to understand that fasting, the purpose really of fasting is to transform.
Thank you.
The purpose of fasting is transformation, to get rid of the old and to bring in the new. That is the purpose of fasting. It's like that rite of passage. It's a bridge to transformation so that you don't have to go back. It's great. So much happens during the fast. It's unexplainable. And when a person goes on the fast, that opens the floodgates. It brings things to you that would have never came to you had you not fasted.
Right.
It's something that, if you look at the word death, what do you see? Smack dab in the middle of the word death. You see the word eat, okay? Well, the word death starts with the letter D, which is delta, which means doorway. The doorway to death is through that which we eat. And so that, the more a person eats, and especially if they're eating anything, if they're not eating food that's designed for this body, that leads to death, or the frequency of death. And the only way out of that is to do the opposite, which is not to eat, give the body a chance to clear things out, and so that you can rebuild your life. The purpose of fasting is transformation. The purpose of transformation is to be, to do, and to become. So some as it's pronounced, gnosis, praxis, and intellicus.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, I hear
Yes.
Tyler Tolman and Don Tolman bring that concept up.
That's the truth. Love them both. Love them both.
Yeah, you said something that I think is so critical, is that basically we need to have more attention on our intention, right?
Yes.
So like essentially the problems that we face in our lives are an intention deficit disorder.
Yes.
We don't have a real goal a lot of times. We get into this whole thing, but we don't have a goal to anchor us in to actually like provide insights or strategies that would naturally come up for us when we have a trajectory that we're shooting for. But a lot of times we're just we're blindly going along hoping that at some point this thing's going to work out, right? So like, you know, we touched on it before, but I'd love for you to maybe share a little bit more on how important it is that somebody really gets clear on why they're doing this kind of thing or anything.
Good question. Well, in regards to fasting, the why is very important in the beginning, simply because when a person decides to take on a fast, even if it's a short fast of say 3 days, all the little voices, or what I call the little demons, they just come up. As soon as you make a decision that you're gonna, okay, I want to upgrade, I want to take my life to the next level. For whatever reason, that's where the resistance comes in. And if you don't have a strong why, or if you're not ready, then normally a lot of times that will talk you right out of your commitment. Okay, so just going into something like this, a person would definitely have to have a made up mind, have to be committed, and have to show some restraint and self-discipline to be able to overcome their own self-talk that's going to happen, because every human being, at least that I've encountered, has his share of demons, and what I mean by that, just the negative stuff that's within us, the darkness that dwells within a man or within a woman. From years of bad programming, from years of eating a diet that hasn't been ideal, from your grandparents, from their grandparents, from a whole, we just have stuff that needs to be, cleansed out. And, so when a person goes into something like this, they have to go in with a strong why and a made up mind. And you know what, Ryan, really want to tell you, it's a baby step process. You don't jump out and try to do a 21-day fast. You start with 3 days, Right. And then you say, okay, maybe I'm going to do a 7-day juice fast and then do the 7-day water fast. And you just build up slowly. You never want to run faster than you can run, because if you do that, a lot of times you're going to fall down and end up worse than you started. Mm-hmm. So I think it's important for, if a person, they're looking at going this way, to start on a small scale and then, build up. But there are some times where, people are in crises and they really need a breakthrough. Well, in that case, if then if they feel that they want to go 14, 21 days, then they can do it. Because most of us have it within us. If you're of sound constitution and you're fairly healthy, you can go about 8 weeks on. You can go 8 weeks without food and still be okay. Most of us.
Yeah.
We just make things a big deal when they really don't have to be. But
Wow, thank you for saying that right there. I just wanted to just share very quickly. It reminded me, I was doing an interview. A video interview for somebody, months and months ago, whatever. And the question came up, okay, Ronnie, what is the thing that you can recommend that could, I don't remember the question, like save someone's life, And I was like, do you really want to know? And like, yeah, of course. I was like, here's the deal. If somebody has a marital issue, they have a personal turmoil, the doctor has told them, we need to operate, we need to get you onto chemotherapy right away, whatever the thing is, I said, this is the deal. Before you jump into the fear program, before you go down that route, get on a plane, go to Hawaii, get underneath a waterfall, and then make your decision.
Wow. Wow. I like that. It's funny, I said something very similar to that recently. I said, okay, you're about to commit suicide, just do a 40-day water fast first. If you still want to kill yourself after you finish fasting, then go for it. But I got it, because that's Marcus Rothkrantz was that guy. He was that guy.
Wow.
Marcus Rothkrantz was that guy.
Right, because people don't really want to die. They just have death impulses because they're just living out of harmony. We call that a Shen disturbance. They're just living inauthentically, so they're trapped, in a corner. So that's like well, shit, like, I guess I'm just going to check out. But then when you say something like that, like, well, just do a 40-day water fast, it presents a different option. And then people are like, huh, okay,
Right.
I guess if I am going to die, I might as well just give this a go.
Exactly. And my thing, you know what, Ronnie? You got to remember, most people's lives are filled with pain and boredom. That's just how that most people's lives are filled with pain and boredom. So guess what? They want to get out of pain and they want to get out of boredom.
Wow.
And so so instead of wanting to be incarnated on this planet, we make up, heaven. We put heaven out there and say, God, I want to die because it must be better than this hellhole because I'm in all this pain. And if I'm not in pain, I'm bored to death. So that's why I watch TV 24 hours a day. And I gotta be so involved in it because life is boring to most people because they're in that, what I call that death frequency. And most people live pain-filled, unfulfilling, boring lives. And in order to overcome that, it takes upgrading through purification. That's step one, and then bringing in all the other things. But definitely cleaning the house has to be number one. Think about any turnaround specialist. The first thing they do is clean the house. In the movie Lean on Me, when the guy wanted to turn around the high school, the first thing he did, he cleaned house. He got rid of all the bad people. Then he can build from there. Yeah. Gordon Ramsay, the chef guy on TV, the first thing he does when he goes to restaurants to turn them around, the first thing he does is clean house from top to bottom. Yeah. That's how you rebuild your life. You start by cleaning house, and then everything else comes after.
It's so funny because when you do a more of a fasting approach, even intermittent fasting, you start to notice the clutter around you, like the stuff that you just live with, right? And like, yes, I was looking at my room, and I'm like, wow, like this really needs to be swept up. I need to clear there's physical positively charged electrons that are bound up with the dirt and that are actually creating a vibratory set point that so when I go into my room, I tend to feel a certain frequency that's setting my vibration at a certain point, right? So it's like, wow, okay, maybe I should rearrange my mattress. Maybe I should get a new mattress, right? Maybe I should I should sweep up. I should clean the dishes. Like to that level of basicness makes a huge difference in your state of mind.
Yes, sir. I like how you put that. Absolutely. Well, you know what? I'm really excited about this new age of Aquarius and Leo because Aquarius being the water bearer, people are going to start purifying their bodies. And Leo being the lion, you're going to hear people roaring truth throughout the four corners. And that's what you're doing, man. And this new age is exciting. It's exciting.
Man, you just keep bringing up these really profound wisdom teachings that like I just keep wanting to push the button on all this. But at this point, I would love to, because it's like these conversations get so good, and it's like, oh wait, how long? It's been 50 minutes. Oh darn. Okay. Luckily, I don't have any sponsors that are infringing upon the timeline here, so we'll go where it goes. But I would really love, for the benefit of everyone listening, can you talk about how you've been able to apply these principles of fasting? Because obviously you're not fasting indefinitely, right? So like, how do you apply fasting to your day-to-day life?
That's a good question. I apply it to my life. I don't intermittent fast. I eat pretty regularly throughout the day. I nibble. I graze, I say, throughout the day. I have two meals a day, which normally consist of a huge green salad that I just love eating. I'm addicted to salads. Yeah. Right? I can't get enough of them, man. I'm serious. I drink my herbal teas, with my yerba mate or peppermint tea, and I eat my salads, and I'll make zucchini pasta or whatever, or my green smoothie or juice. And I fast when I'm led to.
Okay.
And now, when I do a fast, I rarely do a fast of less than 11 days. That's usually the least. I used to fast 1 day a week or 2 days a week. But for me, it didn't really do. I'm not saying that it didn't inform me, but I prefer the extended fast. And so so like before this 21-day fast that we did on January 8th, my last fast was last summer for 11 days. I did an 11-day water fast, and it was beautiful, but I was led on it because I needed to create some opportunities, which they always come. So I did it. And usually when the fast is over, I have my next fast date set when I'm going to do another fast. Mm-hmm. So it's I don't have a set. It just has to come. It has to be organically inspired to come to me, which is normally 2 or 3 times a year, but it's always extended. My next fast actually is a 40-day fast, and it's going to be at the end of spring. To let you know. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. It's actually going to be 40 days, 21 days on nothing but water, and 19 on green juice and green juice only. It'll be my first 40. I've never done a 40-day before.
Okay. Yeah. Wow. What are some of the suggestions that you would provide to people listening to this that are obviously, if they're listening to this up to this point, they are in the game. They're in tune with this. They're interested, right?
Okay.
So what are some of the, maybe simple advice that you could give to somebody who's really interested in this, but they do have a job. They do live in a city. They have obligations, right?
Yes.
But they want to really derive the benefits of this lifestyle to the point that they can. What are some things that they can shift in their life to do that?
Okay. Well, I would just say if you do have a job and you're in a city, just eat as clean as you possibly can. That's number one. And I used to say, well, if you have vacation with your job, most people don't want to take the 2 weeks they get for vacation, the 3 weeks they have for vacation to go on a fast. But they're like, well, I want to enjoy my fast. So if you don't want to do that or anything like that, I would say, start on a small scale and, maybe do a 7-day juice fast or 14-day juice fast while you still work. Or you can do, I have friends who've done 21-day water fast while they had to work. It can be done. You just have to pick and choose your spots, maybe take your water to work with you. If you have a fridge at work, you can keep half of your water there and half at home. It's just a decision, And have your support systems, like have your, tell your family and tell your people who are going to support. Like if you have a family, let your family know that this is what I want to do, and they will. I think the most important thing, Ronnie, if this is something that you want to do, create a support system around you. Because if you have a support system, that will do 2 things. Number one, it'll hold you accountable. And number 2, they'll support you through it. They'll make sure you got your water. If you tell people that you trust, because you can't tell everybody because it'll scare some people and they'll put you down for it. They'll say, well, that's crazy. You shouldn't be doing that. So you don't want to tell everybody. You only want to tell people who are going to support you. So if you go to work, and you have some friends at work and say, this is what I'm going to do. Get a support team and have them support you, especially your family and your friends, and then you can do it. I encourage, now, there's a difference between fasting and juicing. Juicing isn't fasting. Fasting is simply water and air only. That's what fasting is. So, juicing is good. It'll bring you health. It'll upgrade everything. But fasting is more for like that spiritual purpose. If you're looking to create opportunities, create more finances, to create things with that along those lines, then fasting is water and water only, water and air only.
What you just said just triggered something really beautiful in me. Something I had thought about, but not really articulated, is that oftentimes we allocate our ups and downs emotionally towards our net worth. So our value system is based on our net worth when it should probably be on our network, the relationship.
Yes.
But you just said something really pivotal. And I think this is, what I would love to bring into the success mindset is that, oftentimes we think that we don't have enough. We don't have the money that we need to do something. And so we have to sit put in our house or whatever in order to get the resources to do something. But this is the point I wanted to just kind of piggyback onto, is that the insights and the level of clarity that you can get from an approach like this, like just doing a certain amount of fasting, that's really what you're trying to seek. You're not trying to seek the physical manifestation per se. You may think that's what you're looking for, but you're actually looking for a direction, and your mind is clouded and you're overrun with possible fear, so it's clouding your mind, and you can't actually pinpoint what the right thing to do is to get to that said goal, right? So like if you want to create financial success, like you said, you need to have mental and emotional clarity on what the actual steps are going to be right for you, because something for someone else is totally their own path, but for you it's going to be unique, and you got to have clarity to get there.
That is, well, absolutely, Ronnie. And what this does is that it brings solution, because all that water is going to do is flood your temple with light. Water contains all the frequencies of light. If you look at the word solution, it starts with the letters S-O-L, which means in most cultures sun or light, sun. Yeah. And so when they wanted solution back in the day, you went to Saul, or the sun, the father of all living things, right, to get solutions. And what do? You flood your body with that light. And then downloads a solution will come. It's not that they might come. They are going to come. It's a law, and it happens. Ronnie, I've lived in Scottsdale, Arizona for 4 years now. And the only way I've been able to live here, and this is the most bougie place I've ever been. Trust me. Good place, but bougie ever. The one thing that has kept me here and kept me afloat and moving forward in Scottsdale is this fasting and the Lord and God, and being able to create. And you're right. In our country, net worth is big. Most people put a big stock on net worth because we live in a capitalistic society. This country was founded on it's capitalism. And so net worth is like your worth per se. But, I like how you said network. But, in our society, because money is, we're not in the barter system. So obviously money and financial power is critical, simply because that's just what we're under right now. That's what the world is. You got to have it. And so being able to, get that balance where you have the abundance that you need, so that you can be able to do your dharma, and then to be able to help those who don't, who need as well. The universe of God sends you. But that's important. That's a whole nother thing.
Yes. Do you feel that you said something really important, is that the insights might not come, they are gonna come. And yes, people on a deep level kind of know this already. And I'm wondering, do you think that it's actually the fear of that reality, that they actually know that they're going to get the insights and they're afraid that it's going to change their life?
To be quite frank with you, absolutely, Ronnie. I think we fear our own light, per se. Yeah. Yes, absolutely. It's the fear is real, and we fear our light more than we fear our darkness. But the thing that's holding us back is not necessarily our ignorance anymore, because this is the information that everybody knows almost everything now. So it's not the fear. It's not the ignorance that is really holding us back. It's our fear. Because once you know, the only thing, the acid test then becomes getting over the fear, so that you can do, so that you can become. And it's fear, man, that has us. But the great thing about fasting and upgrading our bodies, and it eliminates the fear and the worry and the lack of certainty. You move from belief to knowing. You no longer believe a thing, you know a thing. You standing on things like, no, I don't believe this anymore. I know it, and I'm willing to go all the way. I'm willing to pay the price now for it, because I know it to be true. Right. Yeah. Right.
Wow.
There's no longer belief.
Yeah. I really appreciate that, just on my end, to shed more light on those little things that, continue to keep us in a straitjacket, so to speak. And I really appreciate your perspective, your passion, your experience, and the light that you hold so brightly in the world. Thank you.
Man, wow, Ronnie. I received that, man. And I thank you, Ronnie. I've been following you, man, probably for the last 5 years, since I believe 2011. Into 2010, 2000. I've seen your evolution, man. Um, the books and just everything. And, that you're doing all your lectures and retreats. And my hat is off to you, brother. And I know that at some point, it may be this year, because I'm planning. I got me and a couple of friends who did that water fast. We were already planning the trip to Kauai. I wasn't going to say anything, man, but we're coming to Hawaii this year. And we'll be there for about a month. And it's going to be at the latter part of summer. I believe the Cubs, I'm a big Cubs fan. I believe they're going to win the World Series. I'm going to be in Chicago at that time. But it'll either be after the World Series or maybe before that Hawaii is on the agenda. Me and a couple friends from the 21-day fast, we're already making plans for that. So.
Well, I'll tell you what, man, you keep me updated on that, and if it's totally solid and it's happening, yep. Let me know. I want to be a part of it. I have not done that kind of fast. It's been on my radar. I even talk about it just from the observation perspective and whatever the science, but I also know that I haven't wanted to do it like in a city or while I'm living my life. Like I have to carve out that time to go deep with it. So when that happens, you let me know. I'm there.
Wow, man. I will. I definitely will. Brian.
Cool.
No doubt,
man. Thank you so much for being on, and
thank you for having me.
My pleasure. And
wow.
Where can everybody find out about you? And also, please share even more on any of these retreats or anything else that you have lined up.
Right now, the best place is just Facebook. If anybody wanted to reach me, Facebook. I don't have my website anymore because of a partnership thing, but just Facebook would be the best. If anybody wanted to reach me, there'd be, as far as fasting, group fast, the next one won't be until January 1st of next year. But so that's about it. As far as the group thing. So yeah.
All right. Well, everyone listening, I hope that you enjoyed this even a fraction as much as I did. I'm just so grateful for this opportunity, and really hoping that all of you found some aha moments, some insights, some wisdom that resonates with you, that not only sounds good to you, but that you can take with you and install into your lifestyle. Do something. I keep coming back to that after these interviews. Do something with this information and the passion that you're getting, because ultimately the goal of all these conversations is to ignite a spark of passion within you that allows you to realistically transform your life. So, with that said, thank you for tuning in. We will check you out, or you'll check us out on the next interview. Aloha.
Aloha, Ronnie. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.